Hello and welcome to the Catch a Lift Coaches Corner. My name is Melissa Leuck and I am the head coach and program director for the Catch a Lift Fund. For the last year as a community, we have found strength and healing through the stories of our veterans and our allies. Throughout my time of being the host of the show, it has been healing to hear the stories of others and resonate with them. Today, we're going to take a different approach to the show as we believe it's important that I too am transparent. Today, it is my honor to be joined by my friend and Cal Veteran Outreach Manager, Kaylee Nasiri. Kaylee and I will discuss my upcoming health procedure, what led me down this path, and what is to come in the coming weeks for the Coaches Corner. Welcome to this week's episode of Coaches Corner. Kaylee, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks so much for doing this with me. Definitely excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, it's an honor to be asked to do this with you. I really means a lot to me.
Let's get right into it, Kaylee.
Yeah, so let's just start. What's coming up with you health-wise?
So on Tuesday the 29th, I'm going in for a prophylactic mastectomy. It's been a big decision, but we're going to kind of get into what's led me to this point.
Yeah, of course. And what has led you to decide that's the best course of action for you and your family?
So interestingly, this started many years ago, kind of this journey. I've known my whole life that I'm high risk for breast cancer. This was something that I heard a lot growing up. It's all over predominantly on my mom's side of the family. The first time it was kind of really like a cold bucket of water to the face when I was in third grade, and my mom's sister, who was in her 40s, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was quite advanced, and she would ultimately pass away from it very quickly. It was very aggressive by the time they found it. And again, there were several other members of my family that had breast cancer. And so again, just hearing that over and over again, growing up, be aware type of thing.
Yeah.
But, as a young, healthy woman, this was never something either that, I heard it a lot growing up, but kind of in one ear, out the other, right? Like, it's not something that happens to me or, doesn't happen to you. Had another kind of bucket of cold water thrown at me about 4 years ago. My sister, who was 34 at the time, was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. She had a little baby that was about 6 months old, and, it definitely rocked our family. She was young, she was healthy, had just had a child, when she was breastfeeding, and found this lump. And that really, for me, was kind of my journey into finding out what it means to actually be high-risk breast cancer. So when she was diagnosed, my family started telling me, like, you need to go into the doctor and, just kind of really find out what your risk factors are and, find out what to do. So I went in and I would end up going in and getting genetic counseling done and stuff. And, in genetic counseling, they look at you, they look at your health, they look at your family's health. And, you literally go through a family tree and you look at members that had cancer, what type of cancer it was, the age they had it. That's a big kind of predictor and everything. And there's some other stuff, that they do. And what you end up with, it's called like a cancer number. And it's like a probability of your chance to get breast cancer. So we knew from the genetic counseling and everything that, yes, I was indeed high risk. And at that time, they put me into high risk breast protocol. And so what that involved for me was alternating every 6 months between a breast MRI and a 3D mammogram. So for the past 4 years, that's what I would do. I'd go in and I'd alternate them. I will note that I've been very fortunate. The VA has sent me for the past 4 years to the Gunderson Lutheran Health Center. They have a very extensive breast center. And I literally couldn't be at a better place for this. So I've been doing that, but with that, so 4 years ago, I went in for that first mammogram, and I was 30, 31 at the time, I guess. And right off the bat, there was multiple places they found that needed to be biopsied in both of my breasts. Subsequently, what we found was ADH, which is atypical ductal hyperplasia. And what ADH is, it's a high-risk lesion that's a marker for women who have a high risk factor for developing breast cancer. So it was like, wow, right out of the gate, we popped one, and it, really kind of was like, oh, so this, this is real. And so at that time, ADH, it's an area and it had to be removed from the breast one way or the other. 4 years ago, I had 2 surgeons tell me, they're like, go get a prophylactic mastectomy right away. Your chance isn't going down. Just get this done. I was in a very, very different place mentally 4 years ago. I agonized over this decision for a good 4 weeks. Like I couldn't figure out what to do. I knew, deep down, like the mastectomy was the thing to do, but like I said, just mentally, I couldn't do it. So I opted at that time to get a lumpectomy. It was on my left side and, got through that. And what would happen, what I, came to find is that lumpectomy was not the end of it. 6 months later, I had to go back in for more imaging. 6 months later, so on and so forth. And the thing with it is that the imaging isn't always like super reliable as far as what they're able to see. I'm young, I have very dense breast tissue. It's very cystic. Like they have a very hard time reading it. And so it was just, I was like the radiologist and stuff, like they just struggled with it. And they're like, this is a problem. We can't read this imaging well. But, we kept doing it this way. I knew I had other options too, like when you are high risk, the standard, like I said, the standard procedure, like protocol number 1 is that imaging every 6 months. But there's also different kinds of drugs that you can go on to, I'm not going to speak medically to exactly what it does, but to kind of prevent tumor growth and such. But there's a lot of side effects and hormonal stuff that goes into that. I didn't want to do it. So that we're just going to kind of skip ahead to 2021. And we found a lump in one of my breasts in February when we were at the VA for an annual exam. And so I was due at that time to, have an MRI. And so I went in, did an MRI. We also did a mammogram at the same time because, of course, we found spots again on both breasts. I would end up getting biopsied on both sides. And this time around, we found FEA, which I'm not even going to try and tell you what the actual words are, but it's FEA. And what FEA is, it's a precursor lesion on the way to developing breast cancer. There was also some ADH again present in the breast. And so it was like, okay, we've waited 4 years, this is going to keep happening. And when I had made that decision 4 years ago to opt for that lumpectomy, I told my husband, David, at the time, if we ever get back into a situation where we're biopsying again and find something, we're going to pull the trigger and do the mastectomy. So when this all started happening, it was like, okay, this is the time. So I knew, even as we were doing the biopsies and stuff, regardless if it came back as cancer or if everything came back, benign or just high risk lesions, no more lumpectomies. I don't want to do more biopsies. I don't want to do more imaging. I want to do that prophylactic mastectomy, and that's what I'm opting to do.
I can't imagine what you've been going through these last 4 years. How have you dealt with the anxiety of knowing those upcoming exams are coming every 6 months?
So, and I mean, you hit it exactly. It's incredibly anxiety provoking, and anxiety is something, in my personal life I deal with anyway. And so this was just another thing that brought great anxiety into my life. And, the best way to kind of describe it is that I always felt like I was living in 6-month blocks. We were going from one imaging to the next, and it was just like waiting for when they'd find breast cancer. Like it just felt like that. Like we are literally just sitting here waiting for them to find breast cancer. And, so I'm definitely not going to say like I probably dealt with it in the best ways during, those times when it's time to get imaging. There was times, I would just be angry at the situation, frustrated, why is this happening to me? Because it's not something you can see. You look down at your breasts, you're healthy, but, inside there's much different stuff going on.
Of course, I'm sure there's a ton of internal strife because you're in the best shape of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen anyone in better shape.
Yeah.
So what led you to decide that this was the best course of action? Because you didn't want to keep going back and forth with the continuum, like
definitely
for the next 6 months.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to. And, again, this time around, like they know me quite well at Gunderson in the breast center because they see me all the time for imaging or biopsies and, see the same radiologist and doctors and everything. And again, that recommendation has always kind of stood, like prophylactic mastectomy was and has always been my best option for, health and longevity. And what really solidified this, I mean, I knew I was going to do the mastectomy even before I met with the surgeon, but I met with the surgeon that's going to do it here a few weeks ago. And, it was interesting. He came in the room and he's like, he introduced himself to me and he's like, Melissa, I know you, I know your story. I know everything that's been going on. You're making 100% the right decision. And that was really, it solidified what we already knew. But, it was just like, we got to be done with this. And, he told me, he's like, this is your life. If you don't do this now, this is your life. You're going to continue to have biopsy after biopsy, just waiting for them to find cancer. And it was like, yeah, there's really not another good option. Like, and there also wasn't a reason to not go forward with that mastectomy.
And so in a sense, you are taking back control of your life instead of just having to go through the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's gaining that autonomy back of my body, right, and my physical health. Because, right, for the past 4 years, I've kind of been just sitting there riding shotgun on this, right? Like, and, so for 4 years, I've known a mastectomy is in my future. And it's like, okay, Melissa, do you want to wait and have cancer make that decision for you? Or do you want to step out in front here and say, I'm taking control back of my body. This is my decision. It's being done on my terms, right? Something that I really witnessed when my sister had cancer. When you get that diagnosis, and like I said, she was stage 3 when she was diagnosed. It was a very aggressive tumor. Your options go out the window very fast. It's like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it now. From the time of her diagnosis, I remember until she actually had her procedures and everything, she had a week and a half. I have had, several weeks to think about this, to be prepared, really 4 years, right? I've had a long time, but, right now, I had the option when I wanted to do the surgery. It's like, if you want to wait till after summer, or, if there's something you're trying to plan around. And, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to get it done. But I had those choices. I chose the date. I chose the surgeon, time and place. This was me. This was me taking autonomy back.
And they say when you have anxiety, you worry about something so much that you put yourself through it twice in anticipation.
For sure.
And I'm sure you've experienced that in the last 4 years in anticipation, waiting for like the shoe to drop.
Constantly. I was this time around, like I said, when we found the first lump, like that's kind of started us down biopsies and whatnot this year. Like I said, it was either the very last week of February or first week in March. But I went from that point, so let's just say the first week of March, until it was like the third week of May. Because again, remember, I had to have multiple types of imaging in there. We had to do multiple biopsies because they found other stuff. So it'd be like the first week of March until the third week of May, until I knew that I was cancer-free. So it was like a 6-week time period where I didn't know. And, I was trying to be positive because, I believe in what you think and, kind of like the energy and whatnot that you're putting out. And so I was trying to be positive, but at the same time, it felt like I had cancer this time. It was like in my head, I'm like, this is it this time. Like I fucked up 4 years ago. Like I had this chance to get out of this mess and I couldn't do it. And I'm like, now you're going to pay the price. And thank God that, it wasn't cancer, it was the ADH and FEA again, and I still have this chance. I will say that they will do a full biopsy of all the tissue removed. But again, I mean, as of right now, I do not have cancer. It's those high risk lesions, but everything will be biopsied after the procedure.
I truly can't imagine. And the crazy thing for me is, I work with you every day, and during that time, you just never skipped a beat.
Yeah.
And just carried on. And so, that speaks volumes of your perseverance. But I'm sure, as we all know, and we always say this, we're all okay, we're doing okay, but, we all have our internal, challenge,
exactly.
whatever we're fighting in that time of our life. And so it's been pretty remarkable to just kind of be witness to this and to not really ever see you skip a beat and to make this powerful decision to take back control of your life. And, even more special that you're sharing this with everyone today. So yeah. I'm curious what the process will look like, though. I mean, I know you will be taking time off, but what the recovery process will look like and how you've kind of prepared yourself. Like you said, your sister didn't really have time. She was thrown into it and had to make episodes in a week. You've had a little bit of time, I guess, since May now. So, how have you prepared yourself?
So interestingly, and I didn't know it at the time, but just kind of, I'm a devout Catholic. My faith is very important to me. And so, I look at things as just kind of, nudges from God and getting me aligned in the right track for where I needed to be. And one of the things I started early in 2021 was I started back working with a sports nutritionist. I hadn't tracked macros really in like a year and a half. And I just really wanted to get my nutrition buckled back down tight. And I really thrive under accountability and structure and order. And so I started working with a sports nutritionist, and subsequently from that was able to get, my body fat down. I'm, got my nutrition really in check and just put me in a really good spot physically, along with my physical training that I do. And so I bring that up just to say is that it all helps me for the surgery and the recovery, so definitely been preparing, on a physical end like that. The other kind of big things has just been, readying myself, emotionally and spiritually for this next part. That's a very big part of my life. Readying my family. I've had my husband, David, is an incredible support to me. And so, just making sure we're both good with it, preparing my daughter for it, what it means, but what it's going to kind of look for me going forward. So the procedure's set for June 29th, and they'll do the surgery. I'll spend one night in the hospital, and, if everything's fine, the next morning I'll go home on Wednesday. And again, I'm saying this having not gone through it yet, but from, my experience with women that have had, mastectomies and my family members and such, kind of like the biggest kind of hurdle or thing that you're dealing with is the drain tubes. I'll have a drain tube in on each side. And average length is about 20 days that's going to be in. So during that time, I'll be sleeping in a recliner because I can't roll around on the drain tubes and stuff. But as far as kind of like physically what I'll be able to do, my intention is to get back into the gym as quick as I can, safely, obviously. I'm very fortunate for the past 2 years. I've trained under Leuck Ingalls. She has been a person that has been a huge, advocate for me to, take autonomy back in my life in whatever area it might be. And so she's really helped me prepare physically for this as well as mentally too, I would say. So our plan is that a week following surgery, that my plan is to be back into the gym to start doing some lower body work. In the meantime, though, like I talked to her on Wednesday, and it's like, what does that first week look like? Because I like to move around. I like to feel like I'm progressing, but we obviously also have to be safe. And so surgery's on Tuesday. If I feel up to it by like Friday, Saturday timeframe, I've got a bike and stuff in the house, I might start just some light, work on the bike, go for walks and whatnot. And even just some body weight movements just to kind of explore movement wise, what feels okay. Like a body weight squat, yay, nay, a walking lunge. Does this feel okay yet? Where will my kind of dizziness be at during all this? So that first week, again, just really recovery, and towards the later end of the week, what can I kind of safely move about and do? And again, looking into that second week, going to get back into the gym and, start training lower body. through the time, when the drain tubes are in, I obviously have to be very careful with them. But there's a lot I still can do, and plan to do. Once the drain tubes come out at about 3 weeks, it's going to be like another 3 weeks after that before I can start really doing anything upper body. When I met with the surgeon, this was like, my questions were all in regards to him, like, when can I be back in the gym? Like, what exactly can I be doing? How strenuous, he was probably like, good grief. But
yeah, I'm like, good grief.
But
that would be, of course, for me, like, other than outdoor recreation, that would be like one of the last things I'd be thinking about.
And it was literally like, it is. It's my therapy. It's my anchor. And, that's probably the thing I'm most scared of, is just being out of the gym and having that downtime. But, so when he described to me, like, when I met with him a few weeks ago, how the surgery would be done. So the fascia of the pec on both sides, it will be cut. And so about 3 weeks in, again, when they removed that drain tube, he said that's when I'm going to really start to stiffen up in the chest and shoulders and really start to see kind of a lack of mobility as that starts to kind of heal back together. And, during this whole time, I'm supposed to be doing stretches and, moving in all planes of motions with my arms. But at that 3 week time frame, he's like, it's going to really tighten up. And he's like, it's going to feel like when you go to stretch, he's like, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel like you're ripping tissue, muscle. He's like, good, you need to rip it. You need to be aggressive with that stretching. So that's going to come about 3 weeks. And again, I'll have that. It's going to be about 6 weeks total before we can start to slowly build back upper body and start to work that.
Yeah, 6 weeks is quite a time. And of course we have to ask, how do you think we'll all handle your absence in the time that you're gone? You're such a pillar, obviously, to our program. So how do you do it that way?
So we were all such a team at Catch a Lift, and I have been so blessed to be able to, serve side by side of a group of 10 plus volunteer veteran coaches and mentors. And of course, obviously the Cal HQ team too. And I mean, everybody has been so incredibly supportive to me, and we just kind of divvied everything up, everything's in a really good place. And the veteran coaches, they will continue to do what they do and, work with the veterans in the same capacity they always have. And, we're tucked in a good spot that way.
Yeah. And we're all here to have your back, of course.
Oh, I know you do. For sure.
So once, what are your hopes for the future once you put this experience behind you? I'm sure, once everything's said and done, you're healed up, you're back in the gym. I'm sure you're going to have a huge sigh of relief. Will you continue imaging in the next 6 months? Will that still be something you have to do, or you do it less frequently? Or
Yep. So, the truly remarkable thing about this mastectomy is that it takes your breast cancer risk away by 96%. And the reason there still is that very small 4% window is, and I didn't know this part, but the surgeon told me, when we're formed in the womb and stuff, there's actually breast cells that go from your armpit, all the way down through your abdomen.
Wow.
And so they obviously, the bulk of your breast tissue is right here, and that's why they're able to reduce that risk down 96%. But, there's always still that small chance. But once a year, I'll go in and I'll do chest, a clinical chest wall exam. And what the doctor will be looking for is just kind of right along the scar marks, because I'm not reconstructing. They'll feel and they'll look for anything that feels out of place. And they said a lot of times if there is something that develops, it feels almost like a BB in there, so I'll do that once a year, but no more mammograms, no more MRIs, because the breast tissue is pretty much all gone. So that's such a huge relief.
Once a year seems very tangible.
Yeah.
Every 6 months.
Exactly. I mean, it turns more into just kind of an annual exam type of thing,
Absolutely.
And I'll obviously,
4% is also a very comforting number.
Yes. Yeah. Extremely. Yeah.
And I have to ask, what drove you to share this with everyone? I know that knowing you personally and creating these episodes is, such a healing process for you. So what caused you to be transparent with our audience?
A lot of it is just kind of almost for my own almost exposure therapy for it, right? Like I need to talk about it. I need to verbalize that this is what's going on. If you ever talk to me, like I'm always good, I'm okay, and I am, but at the same time, just like everybody else, right? We carry a lot, and there's power in speaking the truth. There's power in telling your story. You not only for yourself, like it's healing for me, but there's also the possibility that this could reach someone in a way, it could help them. Maybe they'll find strength in it, and if even one person does that, it's absolutely worth it. But I've always been so incredibly grateful for Catch a Lift for giving me platforms to tell my story, to speak. And, now with the Coach's Corner to be able to give that to other veterans too. And so, I just thought it's really important that I talk about this. I want to be very, transparent about the surgery, about the recovery. My intention is to be able to, I'm going to try and video kind of like vlog style as much as I can post-surgery, the recovery, especially time in the gym, good, bad, in between. Because again, I think it's very important to see, so much of what we see, magazines, social media, wherever it is, it's all good stuff, right? Everything's a highlight reel. And this is definitely not going to be a highlight reel. But I think it's important to see it. And it will also be important for me to be able to look back on it and say, okay, this is where I was at the start of the recovery, and look where I am now. I'm excited for that recovery. I'm excited for building my body back up, and, one of the things Leifa told me, kind of on our exit call before the surgery here was just that, I look forward to, helping you get stronger, than you were before, that build back. And I'm so excited for that, because I know that where I'm at now physically, I haven't hit my limit, not even close. And so it's like, I just want to get this done, get on the other side of it and start training for that, just start training to get stronger, I think it's going to be an incredible challenge that will definitely be, realistically very mentally daunting at times, but I'm up for it. I'm up for the challenge. I know how to endure, it'll be good.
I can't think of any stronger woman to endure anything like this, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
And so on a more, looking forward note, what's the next thing you're looking forward to the most after this is all said and done? There's some exciting things going on this year. Yeah.
So, a lot of stuff actually. And I think that's kind of helping me to look forward. I'm hoping, let's see here, what month will it be? Mid-August, if everything goes as planned. I'm going to take a few days and go up into northern Wisconsin and get some time fly fishing with a group of women. I love to fish and, just haven't made a ton of time for it over the past 12 months. So really looking forward to that. At Catch a Lift, we have a couple different events this fall in Westport, Connecticut and Baltimore. And so again, knowing that I'm going to be able to see my Cal family, my brothers and sisters, it's like, oh, heck yeah. There's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course I have to ask, because I know David and Anna are remarkable, but how has your family just continuously served as pillars for you throughout this whole process?
Oh man. I can't say enough about David. And not just through, this little kind of storm of life, but through everything. David has been with me every day since, I met him 3 months after I came home from Iraq. And he's been by my side every day since, through every single thing that's happened. And this has been no different. He was incredibly supportive of me 4 years ago when we kind of started down this journey. He supported me at that time, if the mastectomy was what I wanted to do, but it wasn't at the time. He supported that. He also supported me in knowing that, when something kind of pops again, we're going to do one. And he was when this came about this time, and I'm like, it's time to do it. He's like, yeah, and probably the best thing he said to me, I asked him one day, it was a few weeks ago, I'm like, is there anything, you want to say about this, anything more, kind of like say it now if there is, I don't want you to feel like you have to hold something back from me, if you don't agree with something, if you're uncomfortable with something, let's just get it out there on the table. And he's like, Melissa, I love you. I support you. I'll defend you forever. I'm like, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
So that just kind of says everything about him. And, my daughter, the same thing. My daughter, Anna, she's absolutely terrific. And she gives me so much strength, right? Because I want to be healthy for her, right? I want to be well. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this too. I don't want my daughter to have to go through seeing me with breast cancer, and again, this is our best shot of avoiding that. It was, her and I, we've talked about it. She's 8 now. And so she has, a fairly good understanding of all this. So I could speak to her, pretty bluntly on what's going to happen, and have definitely given her, all the opportunities and, encourage her to ask all the questions she has, stuff she's scared about or concerned. And, in return, she's asked me, very, very thoughtful questions. And so it's really opened up a lot of great discussions within our home, and I'm glad that, I'm able to have that with her. And I'm also glad that I'm able to model for her that losing your breast doesn't make you any less of a woman. Because when I told her, what I was having done, it was interesting. I said, that, I was going to have my breasts removed, and she was kind of like, okay. But what I didn't realize when I first told her this was that she wasn't putting the two to two together, that like breasts and boobs are the same thing. And she's kind of like, so, where are they going to cut? And she kind of like pointed down towards her belly. And I'm like, I said, no, it's my breasts. They're going to cut my breasts off. They're going to cut my boobs off. And the first thing she said to me, but Mom, you're a girl. Girls have boobs. And I was like, yeah, they do. I said, but a lot of women don't have boobs. And, a lot of women that have gone through breast cancer or kind of similar stuff like I do, they either, don't have boobs or they reconstructed. And I said, they are no less women than anyone else. Your boobs don't make you a woman. They don't make you a girl, So it opened up, a very good conversation for us to have. It was a hard conversation, but, one that I'm glad I was strong enough to have with her, and be able to just be real open and,
Absolutely. And like I said, I don't know another powerful woman, but I'm sure for her, at that age, you're just taught this is a girl,
of course, yeah.
And then she's like, now you're losing the foundation of being a girl, and what does that mean?
Right.
So I'm sure I'm positive that she knows what a strength and power it is. I know you and your mother, and two very powerful women. I really appreciate your transparency and sharing this all. And you said if it reaches one person, it will. And just me sitting here recording it, it reached me, and it's such a powerful message. And yesterday when we were closing up the coaching meeting, and talking about staying strong and regardless of whether or not we want to say we're okay, even though we all know there's something going on, I think it's just so powerful and such a strong example of who you are as a person to share all of this with us. As someone who spends most of my days talking to you, I'm going to be royally bummed out in between. I
know, right?
Henry's gonna be annoyed with me. I'm gonna be trying to talk to Henry now. But all of us at Catch a Lift and all of our supporters, allies, veterans are with you in this time, and we'll be thinking of you. I will certainly be outside sending you photos of the outdoors in your leeway.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah.
And know that we're all here for you. Have your six, for life, and we love you. And I think of you as a friend and a mentor, and I'm so honored that you asked me to be a part of this. And and allowed me to, be a soundboard for telling the story.
Absolutely. No. And again, thank you so much for doing this with me, having this conversation. And, because again, this is really, truly a gift for me to be able to, again, tell my story. Right. And I'm so very grateful for Catch a Lift, for our veteran athletes, for our team, for our coaches, everybody. The amount of love and support I receive from every single person, it's beyond words, and I'll never be able to tell them what that means to me. People that have reached out to me individually and, the kind things they've said to me, it makes all the difference in the world, and I know every one of you has my six, and I love you all so much. And again, I thank you for giving me this platform to be able to tell my story. And yeah, I'll definitely see everybody on the other side of this. And
you'll be stronger than ever.
I will be, for sure. And, I'll try to keep everybody kind of updated along the way and, let you know if I do start putting up videos on the vlog of it and stuff. But, I definitely look forward to sharing this journey with everyone.
Yeah. And we look forward to guiding you through it.
Thank you. That's it for this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We will be taking a 2-week hiatus from Coach's Corner, but we'll return with a new episode on July 21st, highlighting Julian Torres and his summit of Kilimanjaro. It's a live day month, and we're going to be highlighting Julian. We hope in the meantime you catch up on the Coach's Corner episodes you might have missed, or you can catch them either on the YouTube channel, get over on streaming, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and get caught up in these 2 weeks. Thank you so much, Kaylee, for holding space with me today and enabling me to tell this part of my journey. Thank you to ClearBridge for your continued support of all things Catch a Lift. Huge thank you to Lynn Coughlin, Henry Pomper, and Kaylee Nasiri for all you do to make this podcast possible week after week. And we thank the entire Cal team. Until next time, guys, keep it real and stay Cal strong.